NFL DFS Thursday night showdown. FanDuel DraftKings lineup advice, Cardinals versus 49ers. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy and single game $1 million winner. I'm legally obligated to say that anytime we discuss single game NFL DFS. So here we are. Now that that is out of the way, we're going to do a quick 10-minute video here, taking a high-level look at tonight's showdown slate on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Look at guys from both the 49ers and the Cardinals side to get a sense of how we should be playing tonight's slate. Still some injury news that we need to look at and get some more information on as the day goes on. So we'll try to cover those situations here. The NFL Daily Plug on OccupyFantasy.com, where I write and highlight every play in this game, talk about strategy for low risk and high risk contests. That'll go in greater detail and we'll have much more strategy than this initial video. So if you're interested in that, OccupyFantasy.com. And before we jump into this, just a quick reminder, if you're not already, please click that subscribe button. Like this video if you like what we're doing, and that way you get notified of the latest videos that we do. So let's start here on DraftKings tonight. Again, quick 10 minutes. We're going to run through this fast. If you have any comments or questions about tonight's slate, definitely comment below. We'll get back to them for sure before the slate locks at 8:20 Eastern tonight. So first glance for me, this looks like a very nice low-risk slate. We should be able to double our money in 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads, thanks to some injuries, some price adjustments, and the overall likely game script that this game is likely to go. San Francisco is a 13-point favorite. That's moved up 3 points. They opened as a 10-point favorite, but now 13-point favorites. And pretty low total. So what that normally means is nice for the running backs. Some injuries that we have to monitor first, though, before we start looking at how lineups can be constructed. And it's on the running backs. It's in the running backs groups for both sides. On Arizona, David Johnson, Adam Schefter came out this morning and said that he is unlikely to play. He is likely out. No surprise there after he didn't play last week and barely practiced this week. Chase Edmonds also out with a hamstring injury. So who does that leave for the Cardinals? They have recently traded for Kenyon Drake, who is not priced that affordably, considering he just got here a couple days ago at 6,800 on DraftKings. He's in that top tier, that middle tier on FanDuel as well. They have Zach Zenner, who is 3K, and then they have Alfred Morris, who will also be active at 2,200. Just reading between the lines on some coaching comments, Zach Zenner's only been there for a week or so. Alfred Morris the same. Kenyon Drake doesn't have that big or doesn't have that small of an advantage compared to these other two guys in just a couple days. And Cliff Kingsbury said that Kenyon Drake is picking up the playbook pretty quickly. I think these prices are accurate in terms of rankings, and Kenyon Drake probably will get a good amount of run tonight. Again, it's not like Zenner and Alfred Morris have been there all that long themselves. They're definitely not as talented as Kenyon Drake, so I think we'll see him run out there for a good amount of snaps. And our Occupy model actually likes Kenyon Drake tonight. If you want our full rankings, OccupyFantasy.com, the Occupy model has every player ranked for tonight's slate. On the San Francisco side, so they have 4 viable running backs. Tevin Coleman, they have Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert, and Jeff Wilson. 3 of the 4 left Sunday's game with an injury. Mostert and Breida barely practiced this week. Jeff Wilson just had a stinger. He was back at practice, and he's fully expected to play. And we'll actually probably will get word this morning on Breida and Mostert. Last night, Kyle Shanahan said that he expected both to play, and if they do, they're going to evaluate them this morning, but well before the game starts. So keep an eye out there. If Mostert or Breida miss, if they both miss, Jeff Wilson becomes in play. He's super cheap on both sites. He's 5K on FanDuel. He's 2K here on DraftKings. That's something we'll need to keep in mind. So low risk. I think it's pretty simple tonight. Really the biggest decision you'll have to make is between these top 4 guys. Jimmy G, Kyler Murray, George Kittle, Tevin Coleman. Everyone knows about Arizona's horrific results so far against tight ends in the passing game. So we know Kittle will likely be popular. But the other thing here is, okay, in low risk, we like to jam in quarterbacks. 2 quarterbacks if possible. running backs from both sides. However, Arizona doesn't seem like they have a safe high floor running back, so likely won't be using them. So really you have to pick between, you have to get 3 of these 4 guys. You can't fit all 4 more than likely. Actually, I want to try something really quickly. Let me see. And then where's Jeff Wilson down here at 2K? So technically, if you do this, you can get all the running backs. And this is only if Raheem Mostert and Matt Breida both miss. You lock up the running backs on both sides. 2 running backs, especially one who's super cheap on a 13-point favorite, not a bad idea. But I think more than likely, you're only going to be able to fit 3 of these 4. You're going to have to pick the one that you like the least and leave him out. And low risk is generally a pass catcher for us because they're so volatile, even if it is a dream matchup for Kittle. Both kickers certainly in play. Robbie Gould, 13-point favorite. Zane Gonzalez, as Arizona continues to kick inside the 5-yard line. He leads the league in scoring. And so Zane Gonzalez, normally we don't recommend 2 kickers in a lineup, but tonight that certainly may be a case where that's an optimal play. And of course the 49ers defense. FanDuel, a little trickier unless Jeff Wilson has a major role. You likely will have to leave out one of the 2 quarterbacks on FanDuel. For that reason, we'll probably recommend less low-risk exposure on FanDuel tonight. FanDuel in general, you're going to have lower exposure because of the way the single game format is set up over there. But you'll have to pick one of the quarterbacks, I think, assuming Jeff Wilson isn't a major role player. If Breida and Mostert are out, low risk becomes a lot easier over on FanDuel, but we'll have to see throughout the day how that shapes up. But for me, high risk player, we're going to take our shots in high risk. Again, tonight looks like a very good low risk night, especially on DraftKings. But we'll still take a couple shots in high risk. If you're a high risk player only, we get it. We have a very identical spot that we've seen, countless times over the last 2 weeks. High favored team. Defense is priced up. They've been scoring elitely so far, 15 points per game for the 49ers defense, yet they're 7,400 on DraftKings. And even more so, we have a running back coming off a major positive variance game. Tevin Coleman, 13 touches last week, 4 touchdowns. If you look at actual expected fantasy points based on opportunity. I know Mike Clay at ESPN does a great job with his OFP metric. Many different ways to come to this number, but if you look at his opportunity last week, Tevin Coleman was expected to score 13 fantasy points. Instead, he scored 40 because he scored 4 touchdowns on 13 touches. 13-point favorite. Other running backs are banged up. What do we know? Tevin Coleman's going to be massively owned. Expect him, especially Arizona's defense. Last week, they allowed Latavius Murray 30-some points. So I think we can expect Coleman to see Dalvin Cook type numbers here, Aaron Jones type numbers here, where he ends up 80% owned, 20-30% captain. 49ers defense. The thing about the 49ers defense this week, unlike some previous weeks, there aren't too many viable plays around them with both David Johnson and Chase Edmonds out. Larry Fitzgerald has turned to dust. Matt Breida, if he misses, he's questionable. Then we have backup quarterbacks. Christian Kirk is a very high upside play tonight that we like. Tons of opportunity after coming back from injury last week. So without the high number of viable options around them, there's a very good chance that 49ers, even if they underperform, can still finish as a top 6 scorer and be in an optimal lineup because there aren't that many guys around them that can outscore them. So unlike previous weeks, I'm not as opposed to playing the 49ers defense in your flex spot. In captain spots, again, we have to play for variance here. They're an elite defense, but Kyler Murray is the least pressured quarterback in the league thanks to his ability to escape pressure. So he should be able to mitigate a lot of that 49ers pass rush and hopefully, in turn, leave them with a floor game and not a ceiling game. But again, because this is something we have to take a look at our how players around them are priced, and because of that, 49ers still make sense in flex and high risk. Captain, they're going to end up 15-20% like we've been seeing, if not more. Would not be playing them there in high risk. So what do we do about Tevin Coleman? Here's the thing. Do you expect him to continue to dominate touches? 3 weeks ago he got 20 touches. 2 weeks ago he got 22 touches. Last week only 13 touches in a blowout. We'll have to watch here. Um, if all 4 running backs are available, that certainly lowers the ceiling of Tevin Coleman, his touches, his expectations, especially if all 4 are active. However, if Breida and Mostert miss, we have an incredible high upside captain play, high upside flex play at Jeff Wilson, who's been getting goal line work, scored a few touchdowns this year. So different ways to play this. However, I think what it comes down to in high risk, you have to assume that Coleman doesn't get all the work, doesn't outperform his opportunity by a significant margin like he did last week, and not play him in captain. Again, if 90% of your allocation tonight's in low risk, it's okay if you take some shots and you're 10% of your allocation in high risk. And by playing a 30% captain, like Tevin Coleman may be tonight, you're not going to be able to leapfrog the field. Instead, if he underperforms, you're really shooting up leaderboards. So, again, same situation as Monday night, same situation as the previous Thursday night, same situation as the previous Monday night, just very similar situations here with 49ers defense and Tevin Coleman. Going to take up 40-50% of the captain ownership. Can't recommend that if that's the case. High-risk captains that we do like, however. George Kittle, obviously. I think he'll be popular, though. He'll probably end up 10 or 15%, I think. I do think the quarterbacks will go under 10% captain in this game. Jimmy G hasn't performed that great. Kyler Murray, tough defensive matchup, according to the numbers. So I think we'll see both those guys under 10%. I would imagine, given the matchups, we'll see Tevin Coleman, highest captain ownership, 49ers, about half of what Coleman gets, and then Kittle probably right behind them at like 10 to 15%. So if we're looking for less than 10% owned captains, you can go with the quarterbacks tonight, something we normally don't do, but as people have gotten sharper in Showdown this year, quarterbacks have gone less and less owned in captain, especially underdog quarterbacks. So those are spots to take advantage of. Emmanuel Sanders, 20-something% target share in his first game of the 49ers last week. Hopefully they have to pass more this week if you play that game script. Christian Kirk, we talked about, 122 air yards last week. Completely dominated targets, dominated opportunity with the rest of those Cardinals receivers. Assuming they're trailing, he has a big opportunity here to be the highest scoring player on the slate. Kenyon Drake, if you trust that he can get work tonight, especially in the passing game, we know he's pretty good in the passing game. His price isn't too unaffordable. And if you drop further, Robbie Gould, could this be a kicker slate? We'll see with both he or Zane Gonzalez. The lowest I would go, actually, Damiere Byrd, Jeff Wilson. Damiere Byrd, you can fit in a lot of guys. He played 80% of the snaps since he's been back. Actually second on the team in air yards last week, behind Christian Kirk. So if you're going 150 lineups, 20 lineups, maybe a handful have Damiere Byrd as captain. Jeff Wilson only if Breida and Mostert miss. So that's a quick recap for tonight's slate. Let's just overall, great low risk night. Should be able to fit in most guys, high floor that you want in your low risk lineups. FanDuel's a little trickier. DraftKings, high risk contests. We know what the captain ownership is going to look like. On FanDuel, Tevin Coleman's going to be even higher owned. Him and Kittle should take 50% of the captain or MVP ownership over there. Thoughts are going to be fully detailed in the daily plug, occupyfantasy.com, especially once we get injury news on Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert. So occupyfantasy.com, memberships as low as $2 per week. If you want my full thoughts, you'll have to check that out. If you like these videos that we're doing now on a daily or semi-daily basis, definitely click the like button. Comment below if you have any questions about tonight's slate, lineup construction, specific players that you have questions about. We'll answer them as soon as we see them. And be sure to subscribe. Get the latest videos directly. You'll be notified directly as soon as we release a video if you click that red subscribe button. So we appreciate that. That'll do it. Brian Jester, co-founder, single game $1 million winner. For tonight's NFL DFS slate. For more information, follow me on Twitter at BrianJesterFF. Follow us at Occupy Fantasy. Good luck tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.